Welcome back to another Minetest modding tutorial. Today we are taking a look at ABMs. So an ABM is an active block modifier, and it's used pretty stupidly in this sample code I have set up here. But in Minetest, it is used to say, for example, facilitate the spreading of grass. So for example, if we break some nodes that have grass on them, and then if we were to wow, that turned out very well. This one just turned to a grassy node because the grass from here spread into this. So that's kind of one of the main uses. You can use them for a lot of other things as well. So I believe mushrooms spread with ABMs. I currently have some weird gravel thing going on, which we'll get to in a second. Some more weird gravel stuff going on over there and up there. So basically, ABMs are a good way to just, within active map blocks, which is to say map blocks that a person or an anchor is in, it's a good way to just randomly make some changes to it. And these changes could be anything. In this sample, it's putting gravel in the world, but again, it could be anything. It doesn't even necessarily have to manipulate the world. It could be doing something else. It could send chat messages to players. It really could do anything, but it's random. So instead of it being a guaranteed that this one will, it's more of a random where something will, but we don't know for sure which one it will be. So let's hop back over and take a closer look at the code. So we start with mytest.register ABM to register the ABM, and then following is all of the data that is used to register the ABM. Some of this is optional. So for example, you don't actually have to put a label in, but if you're using the profiler to check and see where the processing is going when the game is running, to see basically what is using up cycles on my CPU and what might be making the game lag. If you have a label, it makes it a lot easier. Now this is just, you can use whatever you want for the label. So here you see I have a name as the label. I personally would recommend doing your ABM something along these lines. So this code is part of the new mod, which is just a bogus mod I use for kind of these videos actually. So I would recommend labeling it something with the mod name in it. So when you're looking at the profiler, you can say, oh, this is from new mod. Now, I think actually in the profiler, it breaks them down by the mod already, so maybe not quite so important. I don't use the profiler too often, but that's what the label is for. You see it in the profiler. I think that's really the only place. It might show up when you do a list of registered ABMs. It might show up the label. I'm not sure. Node names are going to be the nodes that are actually being impacted. So in this example here, it's only default dirt with grass that this ABM runs on. And then you have an optional neighbors, so you can turn that off, and then it'll just run on every single instance of dirt with grass. If you have neighbors, it'll require that one of the surrounding 8 nodes to this given node is this node. So in this example, one of the 8 surrounding nodes of a dirt with grass node needs to be gravel for this function here to run. The interval is how often it runs. So in seconds. So basically, if you want it to run every second, you would set it to 1. If you want it to run every 10 seconds, set it to 10, etc., etc. The chance, obviously, but it's 1 in whatever this number is. So this would become the denominator of the fraction. So with chance at 100, it is a 1 in 100 chance that the dirt with grass will have a gravel node placed 1 node above it in this example. We have some other ones here that are commented out, which we will get back to shortly. And then we have the action, which takes the position of the node listed here. And we do something, and we can do pretty much anything we want. This is just a very simple example where we take the Y position, add 1 to it, and then we add a node of gravel. So with the changes I have made here, and actually no, I'm going to put the chance down to 10. So every 10 seconds, there's a 1 in 10 chance that dirt with grass will have gravel appear on top of it. Why would we want this? I don't know. But, yeah, it's a thing. So, we just wait. Wow, look at that. 1 out of every 10 pieces of grass that was within our active block. So you can tell that this is right where a map block border is. Oh, hey, look at that. There's a ton of gravel. That's so cool. Who could have ever thought that this would be useful? And there's a ton more. Wow, that is the best thing ever. It's actually not. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's garbage. I don't know why anybody would ever do this. It would make more sense if it was, oh, I don't know, maybe grass. But yeah, that's not what I had. So maybe we'll change that. We'll just go back here and we'll change from default gravel to grass _5. And we are going to turn ketchup on so we can take a look at what ketchup does. I do need to restart the world. Okay, so the ketchup behavior basically simulates what should have happened in the time that the map block was empty. So if you're confused by what in the world that means... Oh, there's a lot of red flowers here. I was going to say that makes 2 of us, but that's not true. I do know what that means. So we were in this area here, right? And this is probably not a very good way to demo it because it's going to be hard to see the results. But say we're in this area and we're doing whatever. Let me just do a little bit of walking around. You know, we're here, so the ABMs here are running normally because, well, we're in this block and it's active. So we're getting lots of grass growing. Hooray, hooray. Now let's walk back this direction. Hopefully that was enough time spent over here and that's far enough away where that wasn't considered an active block. And, oh no, oh good, I can make it across, good. I want to go slow to give it lots of time. Theoretically, when we get over to this grassy area by the beach, it should fire the ABM a bunch of times. Assuming that was far enough away where it wasn't being executed there, which doesn't look like it was. It should fire the ABM a bunch of times to make up for all of the times that it should have been fired but wasn't fired because the block wasn't active. Now, in this particular example, probably you wouldn't want to use ketchup because, well, we're just putting a ton of grass out. And it's kind of more grass than we really would even want. Okay, that was either not far enough away or the block was not considered to be it wasn't considered to be not active. Per the API, ketchup equals true. If true, ketchup behavior is enabled. The chance value is temporarily reduced when returning to the area to simulate time lost by the area being unattended. The chance value can often be reduced to 1. Which makes this one a bad prospect to do because reducing the chance to 1 can greatly increase the CPU load, which can lead to laggy gameplay. Let me just see if maybe flying further away we can get that to fire. And there's not grass there, so that won't work. And I was already going fast. Okay, well, so that's what that's meant to do. I probably did something wrong in the example here. But let's clean up this gravel now. So we're gonna just change this. We're gonna go gravel, and we're going to keep neighbors turned off. But no, we're gonna make a change here. We only want this to operate on a small subset of nodes. So anything between let's do -10 and +10. If it's between -10 and +10, we want the gravel to be turned into air. We could also use Minetest remove node position, but it does the same thing actually. So now, what we should see, when I lower my altitude here, I can actually do it from up here too though, because we're just looking at it. I don't need to be within the altitude. We should see some of this gravel start to disappear. The minimum Y that this will operate in is -10. And we can see, or possibly you can't see, my current altitude is 9 and now is 10. So these actually might be too high, possibly, but these ones should be low enough where they will be turned to air. Why am I not noticing? Oh wait, they're somewhere. Let's make it work a little bit faster. We're gonna keep the interval at 10, but we're gonna change the chance to 1 of 10. And I'm gonna have to change this to 15 because 10 was a little bit too high. I thought it was closer to sea level. All right, so now 10 seconds in, every single gravel should be turned to air. I don't actually know if it's 10 seconds from the launch of the world or how the timing is saved and calculated for ABMs. We're waiting. Oh, I just realized why we're not seeing anything happen. So when you're doing it one node above the itself, yeah, that's why. So now it should work. Here's my redemption. Hey, I am redeemed. I don't look like an idiot anymore. All right, so if we fly around, we should notice those disappear because they are below 15 nodes high. These ones over here should disappear because they are again within our threshold. Excellent. But if we go along the side of the mountain here, a lot of these should remain untouched. Actually, this looks like it is probably the level 15 or altitude of 15. So over here, some of these should disappear, I think. Yep, they just disappeared. Beautiful, beautiful. And anything above that should stay there. So to maybe make something slightly more practical, let's say that because we're above the clouds, there shouldn't be any grass. It should just all be dirt. No, this is actually a bad way to do this because things are going to fight, but that's all right. We're going to change our minimum Y to 125 because that was about where the clouds are at, and our max will go up to 300. And then here we are going to do default dirt, and this will be default dirt with grass. So what we have done is we're going to be modifying dirt with grass, but only dirt with grass that's above 125, but below 300, not 1300. I'll turn catch up off because that doesn't really matter. We're still doing the same every 10 seconds. It happens to all of it. Let's actually change that to 2 seconds. It happens to 1 in 10. And then we are just swapping the dirt or the dirt with grass to dirt. Now, why might you want to do the minimum Y and maximum Y? Well, because like this, you might want mountains above the clouds to not have grass on them. I don't know how realistic that actually is. I mean, I would guess, and I'm no geologist, but if something's above the clouds, and clouds, are what provide rain, then theoretically this should have no moisture for grass to grow on it? Again, I don't know if that's true at all, but it just seems like that would be the case, where you couldn't have grass growing above where there's adequate moisture. And I suppose there's still some moisture in the air, but yeah. Now the reason this isn't optimal is because this grass spread wasn't modified to not spread to dirt above it. So I think this guy just turned back into grass, and this guy just turned back into grass, and I think this one over here just turned back into grass. So the grass spread is still trying to spread upwards, and this is turning grass into dirt. So you have two different ABMs kind of fighting each other. So if you did want to do something like this, you would really want to go into the grass spread ABM and change that so it only goes up to 125 as the maximum. Maybe a more realistic example of doing this would if you're doing world stacking. So say you have your normal world here. This is the normal world. And then we have another realm, or whatever you want to call it, that's, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 nodes up in the air. And maybe you want to reuse some of the same nodes. So for example, you want to have the same dirt, right? And maybe you have dirt does something here, but you don't want the dirt to be doing that up there. So you would just set your ABMs up with your minimum and maximums so that the dirt on the normal world does whatever the dirt does there, but then the dirt in the second layer of world does something different, or maybe does nothing at all. But you have that option by tweaking that around. Now back to what you can do. So the action, you have a function and it gets passed position, but you also have, and unfortunately I don't know too much about these, you can also do the node, which can be helpful in the coming example. You have an active object count, which I don't know what that is. And you have an active object count wider. Now, per the API, it says active object count is the number of active objects in the node's map block. I don't know if that means entities or if that means the number of things that the ABM is being executed on. So in this example, the number of dirt with grasses that exist. And then the active object count wider is the number of active objects in the node's map block plus all 26 neighboring map blocks. So if any neighboring map blocks are unloaded, an estimate is calculated for them based on loaded map blocks. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. But let's go ahead and change this up. So we're going to do group dirt. And I believe dirt with grass and normal dirt and the other dirts are all in group dirt. So then we are just looking at every single group or every single dirt node that's in the dirt group. And here, now that we have node, we can do something like if node.name equals default dirt with grass, then we're going to switch all of the dirt with grass to dirt, right? Because that makes sense, right? But then we're going to do this. Otherwise, else if the node.name equals default dirt, dirt, because this is what cool people do. Then we are going to add a node at the position with the name of default dirt with gravel. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to replace it all with gravel. So any dirt will be replaced with gravel, and any dirt with grass will be replaced with dirt. You would probably never actually want to do this for any reason whatsoever, but it's a good example, okay? It's just an example. Don't actually do this. All right, so I goofed. It's actually group soil, not group dirt, but that's the only thing that was wrong. Everything else is perfect. So same stuff works. Node name or pass, checking the node's name. If it's dirt with grass, change to dirt. If it's dirt, change to gravel. Let's check it out, make sure it actually is working now. I also got rid of the minimum and maximum Y checks for it. So we should see, hey. We have a lot of grass turning into dirt. We have a lot of dirt turning into gravel. Now this will get to the point where the gravel is actually going to just take over everything because all of the grass will become dirt and all of the dirt will become gravel, which isn't really a great thing, but that's the thing we're doing. So huzzah, I suppose. All hail the gravel overlords. Again, you probably wouldn't actually want to do this, but you could do this. Let's maybe do something that makes a little more sense, but is slightly more complicated because we like complicated things here. Also, it's a good way to make sure that this is all working the way we think it is. So the plan is to grab a bunch of gravel. We're gonna make a new ABM that will take gravel. Whoops. Am I too high up? There we go. That'll take gravel towers, such as this. That should be tall enough. And we'll make them fall down so that you won't get these tall towers of gravel, but the gravel will pick one of the four sides and fall down. So, yeah, let's get to that. We are going to start with a new ABM. And let's see, we'll give it a label. And this will be gravel falling, I suppose. Node names. That's going to be default gravel. And we're also, wow, that's not what I wanted. I wanted neighbors. We're also going to use neighbors because if we have a stack of gravel, obviously one of the surrounding gravel node or one of the surrounding nodes will be gravel as well. So this will just save a little bit of work to not check on individual gravel nodes. So, you know, that's cool, right? We could also check if there's air around it, but that would only do us so much good. The interval, I'm going to keep that at 2, I suppose, just so we can see it happening. And the chance, I'll set to 5. There shouldn't be too many of these, so that shouldn't matter too much. Minimum, maximum, catch-up, we don't need any of that. And then our action equals function. That's actually not what I wanted to autocomplete to, but that's okay. We'll just get position. We don't need the node because the only node that's possible is gravel, and we don't need any of the other things there as well. So then the first thing we're going to do is create a local with new underscore position equals position dot y. Actually, new position dot y equals position dot y plus 1. And then we're going to do Minetest get node new position. We need to assign a local to that. Local name equals Minetest get node new position. And then we're going to do not local, if name dot name. I don't know why I picked a name. That was kind of a bad idea. Equals default gravel. Then we want to actually do something, which I don't actually know what we want to do. So we want to, I suppose, do Minetest dot remove node at new underscore position. And then we also want to add a node. Minetest dot add node at let's maybe spell Minetest correctly so that doesn't throw up an error. We want to add a node at a position, which will be, you know, we're gonna need a new I'll just do it this way. Local second. Can I not use a number in my local? That's a shame. Second position equals second position dot x equals position dot x plus 1. This is kind of a really lazy way of doing it, but I think it'll work. Second position. Oh, and actually, you know what? Well, at this point, I'm better off just doing it as a table anyways. I have to modify 2 values on that. So second position equals a table where x equals position dot x, y equals position dot y minus 1, because we want to go one lower, and then z equals position dot z minus 1. Now, we'd really want to do some randomization to which side it goes, but we're going to just leave it as is there. And then I'm getting errors about something. Unexpected symbol near period. Okay, so I think I fixed the errors. Shouldn't have been new position dot y, it should just be new position equals position dot y plus 1. I think is what we had. I don't actually remember for sure, so that could still be wrong. And then second position, the table is within parentheses. Let's give her a whirl and see what happens. And it sort of is working, but is also very broke. So this was a bad way of doing it to start with. I had a couple typos in the code, which is why you didn't get to see the first glorious iteration of this masterpiece running. If I could get close enough to replicate it. See what you would actually want to do is make these fall, and there is actually a way to do that, and that's making everything work much more the way it should. But if we go down here, we will notice that we now have a bunch of gravel nodes that are kind of floating in the air because I'm not making them fall. So I'm going to add that code so they actually fall, and then we'll give her another shot where it should theoretically be working. I do have to find out what that code is though, so bear with me one moment. All right, so I think I've got it set correctly. I changed the interval to 20 seconds. That'll give me a little time to build a tower of gravel. And we are removing the node, placing the node to the side, which again should really be done randomly around it, but we're just doing it to wherever. And then we're checking for falling at the second position where the newly added gravel is. And we may need to do a second one to do it where we removed the gravel from. I'm not sure if this one triggering will trigger the nodes above it or not. We will find out right now. So I've got my gravel in hand. I just need to get to the top of this, turn off flying and all that good stuff so that I can put up a very tall stack. And then turn flying back on, move off to the side. There we go. And we wait. And, okay, so the ones that fell off to the side fall correctly. But yeah, the nodes to the top don't. So we're going to go ahead and add in a second one of these. And this should be done to, I guess, you know, I'm not sure where we would put this to. Would we do this to new position? Or do we need to make another one to check the space above new position? Because new position we removed. So yeah, we probably actually need, I'm using the best variable names ever. We're going to do new position. Because why not, right? I meant to change that to +2. And then we'll just change this to new position. There we go. And this should, I think, work. And make the nodes on the top all fall down as well. I have some pockets of air in here though, which are going to be an issue. Oh. Okay, maybe not. Oh noes. Let's get this all the way built up. There we go. All right, let's watch. Now theoretically this can happen on both stacks. So the central one and then the stack that's being built to the right of it. We just have to wait. Just to wait a little bit. This is actually, hey, there we go. This is kind of a terrible way of doing it because we're not checking to make sure that the nodes here are air, which you would want to do. So this is like only a starting. This isn't actually fully functional. So any one of these gravels could put a gravel into here, even though there's already something there. So what you would want to do is in here, if the name, so you're checking if the name above the gravel is gravel, then you would want to check if your second position, which you would want to probably randomize in some fashion, so it would go to all 4 sides instead of only one. You would want to check if that's an open node or if it's buildable too. And if it is, then use that as a node. And if it's not, do another search for other open areas around it that the gravel could fall into. So you'd want to do that. And then, yeah, the check for falling stuff would still work. You'd also maybe want to do it in a little smarter fashion rather than just randomly doing gravel and checking the node above it. You might want to find the very topmost piece of gravel, or maybe the very bottommost piece of gravel where there is open space. So that one could be ejected out, and then the ones above it could all fall, and it would keep pulling the bottom one out to a side until it was all filled, and then it would go up to what's the new bottom that has air surrounding it, and everything above it would fall down, and it would keep doing that. So it would take one stack and turn it into a plus sign, pretty much. Or if you went really well, you could make it turn into a 3x3 square, and then each one of those could also be checking at the bottom if there's open space, and the gravel could fall out to there. And theoretically, you could get to a point where it would just be a super flat pile of gravel. But yeah, that would maybe be something that would make more sense than how I have it done in this here. But basically, what you need to know is you can use groups, you can use individual node names, you can use neighbors, you don't have to use neighbors. You can define minimal and maximal y values. Now, this is only available to the y value, which is your altitude. X and y, or X and Z, are not supported where you can do this. It's only y. You can or can't use ketchup. You can just not include it to put it to false, or you can include it as true, or you can include it and put it as false if you want. But at that point, you may as well just not even put it in. You have your action, which again, you can pretty much do anything. You could do a Minetest chat send all and send a chat message to every single player. Probably don't do that, but you could if you wanted to. You can pass the node and get the node's name, or if you don't need the node's name, you don't have to pass that. You can do it perfectly fine with just the position. You don't have to include these other objects if you don't want to. If you need them, obviously you have to. And that's pretty much it. So, with all that out of the way, we can see that our gravel stack here has gotten smaller, and maybe just for kicks, everything's going to fall to this side, right? So just for kicks, let's change this up and just do one last thing for our last hurrah. We're going to change the interval to 1, the chance to 2, so every second half of the gravel nodes will move, and let's see what kind of chaos ensues. We'll probably go to this side where the stuff will actually be happening. And we have gravel nodes falling. Now, it should be noted that this should only happen in spaces where there is gravel stacked 2 nodes high. And if there's not 2 nodes worth of gravel, nothing should fall. Seems like we've got a lot going on over here on the side. Again, this isn't checking to make sure that any of these gravel nodes, what they're moving into, doesn't already have something there. So if we go over to the other side of the mountain, we might find that while there is no gravel stacked too high, gravel has also been forced into the wall, which is why you'd really want to check that the node is open before you put anything into it. That was a lot less impressive than I was expecting. We do have some very nice stairs made now, though. I was expecting a little more visual appeal here. Oh well, it is what it is. That's going to wrap this tutorial up. I know it went a little long. Hopefully it'll be a little shorter than what the recorded length was after the magic of editing. Thanks for watching. Oh, I should shout out whoever requested this video, but I don't remember who you were or where you requested it. I think YouTube comments, I'm not positive. But yeah, somebody requested this video, and I delivered. If you would like to request a video, you can do that as well. You can either use the form you can can either use the form on my website, you can send an email, you can leave a comment on YouTube, you can contact me on Discord or Telegram, or any of the other social media things that I have linked on my website on the social media page. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.